welcome to another episode of Against All Odds, where we get to discuss and talk to victims who've come from being victims to survivors. And today's story is definitely a sad one, where we realize that we are drawing and we are going towards the 16 days of activism against gender-based violence. And today's story centers around that. A young girl at a very young age, her innocence taken away by a man who seemed to be a family friend, but only for him to take advantage of her. Let's find out a little bit more, and I'd like to welcome Sipho to the program. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hello, how are you doing?
Fine, thanks. Now, I know this is not an easy story to talk about, and I want to, commend you for the courageous statement that you're making by coming through on Against All Odds and talking about your story. But before we get into a bit of more detail about what happened to you, let's just start off with a little bit of your background and how you grew up as an individual.
Well, growing up, I was raised by my grandmother. My mom was a business lady, so she would be on and off traveling. So my grandmother taught me most of the things I know, and my parents actually divorced. I was very, very young, so I wouldn't know what separated them. But then my upbringing was a bit tough because, you're there, but then eventually I turned out fine.
Okay, so you have a story of sexual assault. To be precise, you were raped at a very young age. Let's just talk a little bit about that. Let's just backtrack, okay, how it started or how it happened at the particular time. What were the incidents that led to this unfortunate event?
Well, a family friend, a friend of my uncle's, my father's brother's friend. This guy, he was a nice person. Seeing him, I actually treated him the same way I treated my uncle, not knowing his intentions. It was during my O break. This guy, it was just the two of us at home. I was by myself. My mom was usually at work, and so most of the times I was by myself. So he came back, did what he did, and then he actually threatened me.
Okay.
If I was to tell anyone, he was going to destroy all of us.
Okay.
So it's something that scared me off, and I never told anyone.
All right. So how did he come about to be in the vicinity of your home? And you say that this was your uncle's friend. When you say
Yes.
uncle, you mean is it your mother's brother or your father's brother? How are we related exactly?
My father's brother.
Okay, so your father's
Yes.
brother
Yes.
was staying
With us.
with you
At that
guys.
particular time, he was having his marital problems, so he moved in with us. So along he brought his friend.
Okay.
Yes.
So he moved in with his friend, and he introduced shamwari yangu
Yes.
tigara tese.
Yes.
Were there any danger signs that you saw? Did you actually suspect anything, any red flags that you saw? Munanga say, was he normal? Was he friendly? Or did it seem like, something was off about this person?
Okay, coming to think of it, after this happened, I started to pick up some lines. This guy would change cars.
All right.
And he was someone whose personality was not, you cannot describe his personality because he changed. If today he might be rude, and sometimes he's a bit of violent. You'd see the way he would speak to his wife when she came to visit. He was someone who did a lot. He would just say, I'm into businesses, but businesses we didn't know about.
Okay.
And some of the people he was related to, he was in business with. They seemed like thugs, I would say.
All right. So you mentioned that he had a wife. And the
Yes.
wife would come visit.
Yes.
Did the wife come visit before the incident happened or after?
Yes, the wife would visit maybe once a week or twice a week. Yes,
All right.
depending if he's around. He was usually around during maybe from 9 p.m. till the following morning, 8 a.m. he would leave.
Okay.
Yeah, so he was not usually around. So that's why the wife would come once a week or twice a week. But then they were not staying together.
Okay. I'm going to ask you, some uncomfortable questions. When it happened, you said no one was at home. It was just you alone. That means your uncle, your mom, no one else was at home. And he took advantage of this particular opportunity.
Yes.
Which part of the house were you in when this happened?
I was in the dining room.
So he came in the dining room?
He came in the dining room. I was sleeping on the couch. Then he forced himself on me. Yes.
Okay.
So after that, that's when he went to his car, took his gun and threatened me.
So he forced himself on you first?
Yes.
He went to the car and he came back and he showed you a weapon,
Yes.
which was the
then
gun.
he forced me to go and take a bath.
Right after?
Right after.
What did he say when he threatened you? When he came with the gun, what did he say to you?
He said, no one can do anything to me. I'll destroy all of you.
So he was basically not only threatening you, but he was also threatening your family.
Anyone around me, anyone I would tell, he would destroy.
It must have been a confusing moment for you at that time.
Yes.
Because having that happen to you is not something that, anyone would wish for.
Yes.
How did you feel?
I felt small. I felt empty, and not being able to tell anyone made me more and more scared. So I would cry. Most of the times I was by myself, I would cry. And I started isolating myself because I felt different from everyone else.
Okay. So this incident happened in January of which year?
2019.
It happened of January 2019. You were on your waiting for your O-level results at that particular time. Did he continue to stay at the family home?
Yes, he continued to stay.
Would he act normal?
No. He would treat me in a manner that hurts.
What do you mean by that?
He would say stuff which are hurtful. Words like, why do you even have to go to school? Even if you pass, you can't go to school. Girls are not supposed to go to school. They're supposed to get married because eventually you get pregnant and then all this will go to waste.
So he would keep on talking about these things, instilling these words into your mind to sort of control you, control your minds. Okay.
To make me feel like I don't deserve to go to school. I don't deserve to be there. I'm nothing.
Okay. And at this particular time, your mom didn't suspect anything, your uncle, anyone at home didn't suspect anything?
My mom said something after she was told. She said the way...
Before. This is before she actually found out.
My mom was usually not around.
Okay, she was at work.
So, yeah, she would come back from work, take a bath, have her meal, and then go to sleep. So there was no talking to him. They would actually maybe see each other, maybe a couple of minutes.
And that was it.
And then he would also isolate himself from my mom.
Do you think he did this out of shame? Do you think he ever felt guilty or for doing what he did, or he felt like he's on top of the world, nothing can ever happen to him?
I feel like he never cared. He never felt anything. There was no sympathy from someone like him. He felt like he owned anyone and everyone. Yeah, so I don't think he ever felt any remorse.
Okay. We are talking to Sipho, and she is actually narrating her story of how she was sexually assaulted when she was young. She was actually on her O-level break, waiting for O-level results, and she was raped by a family friend who happened to be her uncle's friend. And he took advantage of the fact that no one was at home at that particular time. Most probably he studied the pattern of who would be at home and at what time, and realizing that she's all by herself, he took advantage advantage of that particular moment and he forced himself onto her, thereby going into the car later on after the incident and threatening her with a gun, telling her that if she decided to tell anyone, not only would he destroy her, but he would destroy the whole family. So he was threatening her. He was threatening also to most probably kill the family as well if she actually came out and reported this particular issue. Like she said, she found it very traumatizing, and most of the time she'd have to isolate herself so that, you know, she wouldn't come face to face with him, or no one would actually find out what happened. We're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we'll find out at what stage did she decide that it is time for me to report what happened to me. This is Against All Odds. Welcome back to Against All Odds, and we are talking to Sipho, who actually went through a traumatizing ordeal where she was sexually assaulted by a family friend, and she actually went through a whole ordeal. Like, we are talking about 16 days of activism against gender-based violence, and we get to realize that, you know, perpetrators not only target older women, but even young women in this instance. And talking from looking at her story as how she narrated it earlier on in the previous segment there, she was talking about how she was afraid. Now I want to get to find out from you, Sibo. You were threatened with a gun, and yes. If I was in your shoes, I would find it very difficult for me to even, you know, report this issue. Who would you tell? You're afraid if I tell my mom or if I tell my uncle, did you ever think that they would believe you? Were you afraid that, you know, maybe they won't believe your story, or maybe something would then happen to you, something would happen to your family members? How was it like for you during that time where you could not report or say anything about what had happened to you?
I was angry, and I felt like no one is ever gonna know because I'll get them in trouble. So I couldn't tell anyone. I even felt like this guy eventually is going to do anything, even if I don't tell anyone. He's going to do whatever he feels is safe for him.
Okay. What then pushed you to report the issue?
So by the time I started my lower six, there was a friend I was close to. So we'd always talk about anything and everything. So I decided I should at least tell someone, because I was not okay. I would isolate myself from others, because simply when someone looks at you, you think they know something happened to me. You feel like everyone is going to know, maybe by the way I walk, by the way I look, someone is going to know. And I remember in high school, you guys talk about anything, you know, things that are happening. So I felt like, oh, so I'm one of the people that are not virgins, you know, those kind of things. They hurt. So I decided to tell my friend.
Okay. When you told your friend, how was that, you know, was the burden lifted off from your shoulders? And what did your friend do at this particular time when she found out?
She cried, because I was crying, telling her. She cried, but then I felt relieved. I told someone who cared. And she's the person who offered help. She immediately told me to tell someone else, an older person. She told me we should go and tell the senior teacher. She was not someone who rushed to tell other people, no. She told someone mature who could understand the situation.
So did the both of you go to the senior teacher and tell her this is what happened?
Yes. By the time, the senior teacher was a man.
Okay.
But he was someone who was friendly to the students. He was more like a father figure.
Okay.
So we told him, and then he said, I'm going to call your mother. You should tell your mother. Because it was a serious issue. So my mother was called. I didn't even know where to start.
Okay.
It was difficult for me. So he then started telling her, Mwana told me this, this,
Okay.
this, and that.
If you can narrate how he... Okay, so in this instance, because I'm trying to picture what happened. He says, I'm calling your mom. He picks up the phone and he rings your mom.
Yes.
Was it he asked you to tell her and then you couldn't narrate the story? Is that it?
No. He was like, I'm going to tell your mom.
Okay.
But you should tell your mom what happened.
All right.
So he started off by telling her his side of the story, what I had told him. Then I would further tell my mom the whole story.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So he told him, anduza zvakati kutaka batwa chibaro ni shamwari
Yeah,
bamnini vake anti. And then you had to further confirm and elaborate what happened at that particular time. How did your mom feel about that? What was her reaction? What was her response?
I could hear my mom crying through the phone. She was like, why couldn't you tell me? I'm your mother. You're supposed to tell me these things. You know, me and my mom had a relationship, like, we would laugh over things, talk about things, but then telling her was the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. I couldn't. I felt like she was more hurt than I was. Because as a mother, she felt like she couldn't protect me. But then it was not her fault. She was not there. If she would have been there, it wouldn't have happened. If she would have known, it wouldn't have happened. But then she told me all was going to be fine.
Okay. So what was the next stage after your mom finding out about what happened? What was the next process from there? What did you and your family members do about the incident?
I was in Mutare.
Okay.
In school. So I had to come back to Harare. We had to report the case to the police.
Okay.
Eventually, my mom had actually gone to the police. So they wanted me to be present.
Okay.
So imagine coming from Mutare, I had to ferry a bus early in the morning. So I didn't arrive at my house. I had to go to my mom's friend's house because the friend was still there. My uncle's friend was still at home. We didn't want him to know that we were in the process of getting him arrested. So I had to sleep there and go early in the morning to the police station. So when I went to the police station, I narrated my story and then the case was opened.
Okay.
Then unfortunately this guy, I believe my uncle maybe would have told him the following day he was nowhere to be found. He was found the day after we reported the case.
Where was he found? Where was he? Where had he?
They said they found him, I'm not so sure, somewhere in Kuwadzana. I'm not so sure.
In hiding,
yes,
okay.
In hiding. So that's when his wife came to our house, offered us money.
Wait. His wife came to your house?
Yes, with his friend, not my uncle. His
with
other
another friend?
Yes.
To offer what money?
Money.
For what?
They were saying it's for compensation. My mother chased them out because you can't pay for something like that. Because even if you pay, you can never restore.
Do you have any idea how much they were putting on the table?
I don't even have any idea.
But they came and they were like...
And they were actually willing to pay any amount of money.
This money was meant to what? For you to withdraw the case, for you not to to go on with the court proceedings and everything else?
They said I would not show up in court.
They were actually giving you instructions of what to do?
Yes. And when we went to court, he was pleading, saying, I'll do anything, I'll marry you. Imagine, I was 17 by that time. getting married to someone you don't even love, someone who forced himself on you, telling you that I'll marry you, just that he could go scot-free.
I'm speechless. It's the whole incident of thinking that they thought this is something simple. Did he even realize what he took away from you at the time?
All he wanted was to be free. But then he didn't know the impact he caused upon my life. A lot changed. Imagine trying to be someone you're not, just to fit in. You think it's the end of the world, it's the end of the road. You're nothing. You're nothing.
With the court proceedings, how did they end?
Well, eventually I never got justice.
What happened?
We would go to court. Okay, the first time we went to court, he got bail, and then we were told to come back, if I'm not mistaken, on the 21st of April. We went back to court, and then they said we were supposed to come back that afternoon for him to get the trial date. So he didn't show up. That afternoon, he never showed up. They said they would issue a warrant of arrest, but then
so it just became
happened.
A back and forth issue, and forth.
I even tried to follow up. My mom tried to follow up a couple of times, countless times. We would go to the court would say the docket is with the police would say the docket is with the court. So I never got justice. And I would see this guy, maybe in town. You see this guy, he would run away.
Okay. Well, we're going to take a short break, and we're going to continue with her story as she narrates what happened to her. This is Against All Odds. Welcome back to Against All Odds, and we continue with Sipho, who is actually explaining her story to us. Unfortunately, even despite the efforts that her and her family made to make sure that the perpetrator of her sexual assault and rape case would be brought to justice, it became a back and forth issue. And you were saying that it became a back and forth issue, Sipho. You said you never got justice. It never came.
It never came. We tried. But nothing came.
Okay. Now, I'm sure there came a point in your life where you're like, I've done what I could to make sure that justice can be served to me, but it hasn't come to my doorstep as yet. At which point did you decide it's time for me to move on with my life, and what did you do?
Well, I can say it's about last year. That's when I actually thought, no, it's high time I give up. I was in the process. 2022.
Okay.
Yes, I was in the process of healing. Despite whatever that happened to me, I told myself, justice is from the Lord. He might think that all is well, but then God is not dead. I decided to finish my school and start up with my small business before going to school. I was applying, so I got a place at Zimbabwe Institute of Legal Studies, and then I'm studying paralegal from 2021. I started there. Unfortunately, I was pregnant, but then it's a good thing because I got married.
Okay, so you decided to go into the legal aspect of things. What pushed you in that particular direction to decide to do paralegal?
Well, my aim is to protect the girl child. Everyone matters. It doesn't matter if you're young, you're old, you're a woman, you're a man. Everyone matters. My aim is to prove that the female gender can do anything. And they are supported. They have my support. Yes.
Okay. Let's talk about, you having a child and you being married. You got married. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Your husband supports you?
Yes, he supports me all the way.
Okay.
It's not easy for a man to tell you to go to school, but then my husband supports my dreams.
He supports your dreams,
Yes.
which is actually quite exciting. You talked about before you actually went on to legal school, you started your small little business.
Yes. Yes,
Waiting
a small tuck shop. Well, no, in fact, takatanga uri msika. Yes, I'll sell to my sweets and to my cigarettes and stuff. But eventually, now we've got to my small businesses. We buy and sell.
Oh, that's amazing! You started from small beginnings, and now it's something big.
It's something big.
Does your husband know about the unfortunate incident that happened to you when you were just 16 years old?
Yes, he knows. I told him, and he was willing to go any way to help me. We tried, he also tried, but justice never came. But then I thank God that he understood and helped me to recover. He never judged me for that. He actually told me it was never my fault.
Well, the first thing I want to do is commend you for finding the courage to speak about what happened to you. It's not easy, talking about such incidences because a lot of people can be judgmental about it. And some people, like you said, like in your instance, you were threatened, but at least you found your voice somewhere along the way and you were still able to report this person. That is the most commendable thing that I can say to you. So first and foremost, thank you so much for finding the courage to do that. Now, there might be someone who's out there who might, be going through the same circumstances that you're going through. What would you want to say to them? Some encouraging words to them as we draw close to the 16 days of activism against gender-based violence. What would you want to say to those people who don't have a voice or who are threatened not to report any form of sexual assault, whether it be rape, or sexual harassment, or any form of sexual assault that they might come across?
All I'd want to say is don't stay silent. No one will do anything to you. It's better to get help whilst it's early, and you can never be a shadow. You can shine. You can still shine. Everything is possible.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your story with us. We really appreciate it, and we hope that justice will come knocking on your door one day.
Thank you.
This is Against All Odds, and you heard her story, a story that is very touching indeed. Although she thought that all hope was lost, she still found hope, starting from humble beginnings, and now she is, studying law, paralegal itself, to make sure that she can help other individuals, not only women, but even men and children within the society. And we always encourage such things. Thank you so much for joining us right here, and we'll be back again next week with another story to let you know how you can come from being a victim to a survivor.